Hey everybody, welcome to my channel and thanks for tuning in to my first Stampin' Up! YouTube video. So I'm Stephanie from stampwithstephanie.com and today I want to make this really cute fun fold card with you. So let me show it off a little. When you open it up by this flap and you open the bottom, then it opens up like a normal card. So it looks very snazzy, but it's going to go together really quick. So let's make this card. So here's my example, and here is all of the pieces I cut out ready to go. So I will put the measurements on my blog, which will be linked in the description, so you don't have to pay too much attention, but I'll also go over them. This is the insert, so the inside of the card, it's 3.75 by 5. This is the card part, and you can see this really nice embossing. That's the 3D metal plate, and it is 8 by 5 1/4, scored at 4, so folded in half. And the reason for the slightly odd size is because it's going to go on this base, which is the usual card front size, 5 1/2 by 8 1/4. So this card is going to lay right on top of it. And then this insert is also a different size because it's your inside. So then these other pieces are, this I already cut. This was a 3 1/4 square, and then I just cut it by lining up the points in my paper cutter and slicing it. And then I scored it at 1/4 inch and scored. And you'd have 2 of these for your triangle flaps. And then these are the front pieces. This mat is, I have to measure that one. The mat is, come on, measure, 2.75 by 4 1/4. So then this is just slightly less than that at 2 1/2 by 4. And again, all these measurements will be on my blog. So let's put this thing together. I'm going to start with my gluing the front. So this piece just goes on its mat. And you could pull out grid paper, but I tend to just eyeball this. And then before I glue the card, I want to glue my little flaps. So you see when you fold it over that you have these parts sticking out. So you just fold them down and then trim the little overhangy bits. And then I have 2 pre-trimmed. So they are going to go on the front of this card, and they're just going to glue on the back. So I'm going to pull out my silicone mat and just put glue on that bottom edge, and the mat is so that it doesn't end up all over my desk. And then remember, I pre-embossed, so if you want to emboss the card, you'd want to do that first. And then I'm just lining this up nice and tight, and it's actually going to glue on the back of the card because you're going to pull this flap up to open it. So you can see I've got it tight, and then this is the back of the card where I'm going to glue my flaps down. I have to do the other one. So I'm putting glue on the back of that little tiny folded strip. And I'm going to line it up on the front of the card. Put it nice and tight. Fold it down, make sure it covers the card. And then glue the back. And I'm going to use my bone folder and kind of burnish this, make sure it's nice and down. And then this piece, make sure it's going the right way. And if you did what I did and got a little bit of glue when you open your card, just wipe it off so that you don't end up gluing your card shut later. And we'll check the top. That one feels fine. So then I'm going to close my card, and I'm going to glue the back onto my card base. And I'm using just a double-sided tape roller. So like we have the stamp and seal, or you could also use wet glue, which would be easier to line up because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. I usually try to fold the flaps down so that I can really see where the card is, so I can eyeball an even-ish and straight. That wasn't quite straight. An even and straight border. And then glue that down. Make sure the card opens correctly. Yep. And then I need to, let's go ahead and add the front. So we're going to put our front lined up how we want. And then once we see where it needs to glue, I'm going to put the tape that far on the flap. So it was not past here. So I put my silicone mat bag to keep from gluing my card. And then I'm just going to line this up and look at both parts so it looks mostly even and straight. And then I'm going to push it down. So that's pretty much the assembled card. Now we just have the stamping. So these stamps are from Adventurous Sky, and I adore this set. So let's see, I used the medium plain, the Flying By to Say Hi, and these die cuts are from the Unbounded Love set. They're the 2 nesting circles included in that. So I have the dies. So you would need the medium plain die, and then I have the medium plain, and inside I used the small plain. Inside I used this You're the Best Plain and Simple. And where is, oh, on the outside, Flying By to Say Hi. So those are the stamps I used. And I'm going to stamp them for you, and then through the magic of recording, I have them all cut out already. So let's see. I did Flying By to Say Hi in navy, in Night of Navy. So tap, tap, and I'm just going to make sure I have room on my paper that I would be able to cut out that circle. And that one got a bit of the edge, so I'm going to remember to actually check and wipe off some of the edge. Flip it and stamp more carefully. That's better. And then I'll be able to cut that out. And then I also need the medium plain. And I did the medium plain. Oh, let's see. While I have the navy out, I'm actually going to do my inside greeting. So I'm going to line this up. And on the inside piece, on the inside piece, so that's the little rectangle, I'm going to put centered near the top, You're the Best Plain and Simple. And I'm just going to eyeball this to center it. And then I added the little plain. If you look closely at my example, there's just the faint outline of the little plain, which I did using smoky slate and by stamping off. So I inked the plain, and then on a piece of scrap paper, I stamped it once and got a bunch of ink off. And then I stamped again. Get this going the way I want it. Right over my text, a little bit towards the bottom. And I have a nice clean but very faint image so that you can just see it behind the text. And then still plenty of room to write. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this inside piece in. And again, eyeballing to give myself the gray border, smoky slate border. And then we can close the card up. And the very last pieces are my flying by to say hi, which I would cut with my circle die cut. And then a piece of Night of Navy for the border of the flying by to say hi. And this medium plane. So I'm going to put the medium plane on that same paper. And I did that also in smoky slate. So I'm just going to put this up here with enough room to cut out. And if you look at my example card, you see that I have this Night of Navy, this dark blue shadow. The way I did that was I just went ahead and cut both pieces at the same time. So I would line up my die cut for the medium plane. And I just put a piece of Night of Navy right underneath so that it would go through too. And I can just see the edge, so I know my piece is there. And then I line this up and would run this with both pieces through the cutter. And I end up with the piece that I threw on the floor. That I had already cut. So I have the plane and its shadow and the Night of Navy and its circle went missing. I will attach that later. But the flying by to say hi with its circle. Oh, there it is, with its circle. So then we just need to attach these. So I glued the white circle onto the blue, and it's actually easy to line up because you can see the die cuts have little dots. And the plane, to line up the plane, and bring my silicone mat back, I just put glue, apparently I've stamped the plane before, on the bottom part of the plane because that part is going to be lined up with the shadow. And then both planes are the same size because I cut them together. So I'm just going to offset them so that I get a little bit of a shadow. And just kind of play around with it until I see an amount of blue that I like. And then stick them together because I glued most of the plane. And then all that's left is using a couple dimensionals to pop these pieces up. So I'm going to put the plane first, kind of in the center. I'll use 2 dimensionals for him. He's probably not going anywhere. And I discovered that you can use your take your pick tool to easily pull off and get rid of the little circle covers. I'm going to put this center-ish and make it slightly going upwards. I'm also looking at my paper and finding if there's any planes that I want to leave not covered. So I'm going to put it there. Then I'm going to use 2 more dimensionals on the back of my greeting. And then put that somewhere near the top. We'll off center that a little bit. And that's it. A card that looks really hard to make and that came together pretty quick. So I hope you make one of these fun full cards and have a great time with it. Thanks for stamping with me. Happy crafting. Bye.